I found my new source of inspiration. Now I just need the model. You there, with the scissors! Hold that pose while I get the artistic medium. Okay, who's got the Lego bricks? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're going to take a look at our final pretender for Pretender Month number 3. And as is tradition, we always want to slip in one of these guys. This is one of the Pretender monsters. Right now we have the combat artist, Slog. Slog is a Decepticon. He was released in 1989. He would only be available for that year. He'd be discontinued by 1990 and we would not get a replacement for him. Slog is listed as a combat artist, and a combat artist apparently in the Transformers universe is somebody that can make art from being in combat. So apparently he carves up his enemies and creates a statue out of them. Supposedly he did want to display a lot of his artwork, but the Decepticons prevented him from doing so, as apparently it would more than likely reflect badly on them more than it would have helped Slog's artistic career. Now, as also on a side note, apparently Slog has also got the highest rank amongst all of the Pretender monsters, so technically then that would make Slog the leader of the Pretender monsters. Despite, like, the Constructicons from 1985, there was no one officially labeled as such as their leader. But back then, we also had the cartoon to give us some idea as to who was in charge. And of course, we'll take a look at the shell momentarily after we've had our fun here with this robot. Now, we're going to have to be very careful handling this robot because, as you can see, he is predominantly gold in color. And he does suffer greatly from gold plastic syndrome. I can attest to that because this is my second version of Slog. The first one that I had was in good shape. I was able to build him up into Monstructor with the others, and after I took a group photo of them with the other combiners, Monstructor got accidentally knocked off the counter, and Slog here managed to have one of his arms break off. Thus meaning we now got this one. So let that be a lesson to all of you. Don't drop him. Well, at any rate, we'll take a look at his articulation. We're going to do this very carefully now. You can have his head look down like so, but that's more for transforming him than it is for anything else. He does have a joint at the shoulder, and theoretically you should be able to rotate his arm all the way around. It's very stiff on this figure, and because of the gold plastic, I'm hesitant to rotate it any further than necessary, so as to avoid breaking him. And of course he has a joint at his knees, which does allow him to bend at the knees. But again, that's more for transforming him than it is for any other purpose. So, what a shame. Now, of course, we should transform him for you. Of course, to start that off, we're going to take his gun and remove it. Then next comes the fun part. because it involves moving him around, so we got to be careful. I'm going to get this arm and point it straight down, like so. Fold his head down, like that. Well, actually, his head folds all the way into his chest. And then we fold his legs up at the knee. And then we basically have him face with his back to us. And this is his monster mode. Yeah. Of course, that's been my gripe over a lot of the other of the Pretender monsters. Just, you get them in this mode and it's, yeah. It just doesn't work for me, folks. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. Yeah, it's very boxy looking. We're not going to go into that. Let's get next into putting him into his shell and see if that makes him look any better. Now, you just take him like so with his arms straight down like that. Then we gently wiggle him into the shell. I say gently, I mean you don't want to break the gold plastic. Once he's in there, all the way in, then you'll get the rear panel and just snap that into place. Then you can attach the back pieces to it, like the head demonstructor just slides in there at the bottom. His own gun can be affixed in here. Kind of has to sit at an angle because of the head being down there. And then, of course, the other gun gets attached like so. And then there you have it. Slog is in his shell form. Shell looks a little bit better than the robot mode. Not great by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the little bits of paint for the eyes and the belly and whatever these black spots are supposed to be on the top of his head kind of helps add to him a little bit, but overall, it's still not great. But if you keep him at this angle, it doesn't look too bad. Unfortunately, if you see more of the side, you start to see how boxy he gets here on the back due to the way that the robot is shaped. Unfortunately, with the way the things are positioned back here, there's almost no real way to store everything and make it look half decent. The head gets in the way of the small gun, and then the small gun gets in the way of the big gun. So, it's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other on this one, folks. I gotta say it like that. Let's take a quick look at all the loose parts of Slog, starting, of course, with the rubber shell. Of course, he's all solid, save for the spot in the back where the robot goes in. Like with all the Pretender monsters, it's all a one-piece unit. For better or for worse. But this one doesn't seem to have the slimy coat that many of the others seem to feel like they have. So maybe I got lucky and this one's a better quality, or I don't know. Could be dozens of reasons, but maybe you guys might get lucky on that as well if you're seeking one for your collection. And of course we have here his exclusive rear panel. As you can see from the side, it's very thin plastic here on the edges, so make sure nobody's bent it any way. It's got this large cutout here for the head, and a couple of holes for the guns. And of course on the back side, it's got this weird texture pattern on here, and that's about it, really. Then we got the large gun. This would be Monstructor's gun. The card contents list this as a solar cannon. It's a pretty nice, imposing gun. One real shame is that the robot himself can't wield it. This is solely for the larger robot, and that kind of sucks. I mean, even with Mixmaster of the Constructicons having Devastator's gun, he could hold it as well, so at least made the accessory somewhat usable. This, if it's not on the shell or in Monstructor's hands, it's kind of useless. And then, of course, we give you the face of evil. This is Monstructor's head. Bright yellow colored head, the somewhat silver colored face application there. And yes, it is as small as it looks here, folks. But of course, then again, he's got a pretty small head. It would go like this, because this forms the chest. Yeah. It'll look better when we put them all together. Maybe next year, we'll see. And then, of course, lastly, we have Slog's personal gun. The card contents list this as a dual rifle, but there is no dual barrel on this gun. The barrel here is kind of multi-barreled, so it almost looks like a single-handed minigun, or a single-handed Gatling gun. Or at least that's the impression it leaves me with, folks. I mean, feel free to state your own thoughts of what you think the gun is in the comments down below, but that's the impression I get with it. But it certainly ain't no dual rifle. Moving right along now, we're going to take a look at Slog's card. This was his card when he was available. And the person that had it obviously took some great care to preserve it. You can get a better look here at the monster mode, and the shell here on this picture with the fangs protruding out the mouth, that looks impressive. That I gotta give him. That looks impressive. It also shows that there should be some gold on his face. And apparently there is. You just gotta look real close. I think that could have been done a little better. And of course, the monster mode, it still looks kind of stupid, but at least like this, as you can see, it's got a large claw on there, on the hands. That at least looks a little more intimidating. And of course, you got Decepticon and Slog down here at the bottom. Lifelike, flexible bodies. Yeah, right. And we flip him over to the back side. And up here, you get the listing of all the other guys available to make Monstructor. Slog here is number 5 in that list, but of course you could buy them in any order you chose. There's the drawing of Slog in shell form, and again, the drawing, well, not quite as good as on the front of the box. It still looks considerably better than this. Here we get the instructions. They start with showing the figure and the robot, and then the other parts. How to arm him. How to turn him into the monster. And then how to put him inside the figure. And of course how to put the stickers on him. Mine would probably look better if I had the stickers. But I should consider myself fortunate I got him in one piece. And of course up here at the top, before we forget, there's the barcode and his robot point. Slog was worth 1 point. Despite the fact that by now the mail-away program had more or less ended in America. Hasbro put more focus on the G.I. Joe mail-away than they did on the Transformers. And of course down here we get to take a look at his tech spec. And this is done in the new style that was introduced in 1989. They would only do this in 1989, because in 1990 they would change for a different thing for the Action Masters. At any rate, this is done up predominantly in purple color to show he's a Decepticon. It even lists that he's a Decepticon, and of course the picture down here at the bottom is the same as the picture on the front of the card. It gives his name as Slog. It lists his function as Combat Artist. And his motto is, Destruction is the highest form of art. He has taken sculpture out of the art studio and transplanted it onto the battlefield. In his pretender guise, he can whittle an Autobot warrior into an abstract wreck within minutes. He considers his carved-up conquests to be renowned masterpieces. His diamond steel alloy talons can tear through any material known to man or robot. Enclosed creature robot is armed with a magnetic repeller attractor, which rips iron-bearing opponents to microscopic pieces. You see, it lists his gun differently. Instead of calling it a dual rifle, it's a magnetic repeller attractor. Weird. At any rate, since they changed the thing over to be a line graph, we can easily read it. Now it's actually a bar, but it's horizontal. We can read it without the decoder. It gives his strength as 5, his intelligence is 8, his speed is 2, his endurance is 8, his rank, courage, and firepower are all 7s, and his skill is 10. So he's very good at what he does. And he's got the brains to back it up, but he's slower than snot, folks. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Slog? Like Wave Rider last week, Slog just barely makes it into the middle tier. And I think Slog is even more of a stretch to consider him a middle tier character. The combat artist function, it's nice to see something different, but in reality, it's really rather pointless. Since it's kind of, why would you try to do artistry in the middle of a battle? That's just going to make you more of a target. So I don't think somebody really thought this over very well when they designed him. I think they just wanted to slap something on him, and somebody probably must have been an art school reject or something and decided to transplant it onto him. That's my best guess anyway. The robot mode, the robot's okay. The alternate mode, it's terrible. The boxy look on it just doesn't work. We're used to boxy robots in the Transformers lineup, but seeing it stay in the alternate mode just doesn't help Slog's case at all. He's also further hampered by the fact that he's covered in this gold plastic that breaks very easily. His gun, I kind of like his gun, but I don't like how it's called, either in the tech spec or on the instructions. It's a small minigun. Let's just call it that and be done with it. The shell, yeah. It's about what you expect from the Pretender monsters. They're either great and interesting, or they're stupid looking. There is no happy medium with their shells. And unfortunately, Slogs falls into the stupid category. Now, if it retained some of the design aspects that that picture had of him on the card, maybe that would have worked out better. It would have at least looked like it was ferocious and hostile and probably ready to eat you in the process. But what we got, there's just nothing to describe it, folks. It's stupid looking. And it's also made further worsened by how the backplate is designed. Granted, it's designed to cover the unique shell. I get that. But the way things are positioned on there, you can't put his gun on the back without it being in the way. I put the head in a different position on here. And I'll show you, folks. We'll take the gun out of his hand here, and you can't have the gun pointing straight up because it gets in the way of the head. So you either have to go without the head, or the gun just sits in the way. There is just no happy medium. I mean, you can have the head hanging down pretty low here, and then it works. But that's the only way to make it work, is like that. Otherwise, everything just gets in the way, and then you really can't do anything with it. And that's just a rather poor design. Maybe it would have been better if the small gun was positioned more off to the side, so that way there'd be room and at least there'd be some rotation available for it. Otherwise, it just does not work. No, I think I'm going to change my thoughts on it. Slug's definitely more in the bottom tier. It's too stupid looking. And if I didn't have Ed 209 buried somewhere, I think he'd be up here blasting him. What else can be said about this, folks? This one, I tried to come up with a way to justify him, but I'm at a loss for words. I just can't find anything to justify him, so God, I should have dug it out for this. Well, at any rate, that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Decepticon Combat Artist, Slog. And this also concludes Pretender Month Round 3. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you'll be notified of all videos as they're posted. Please also consider sharing your thoughts about Slog in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying Happy Halloween, and I'll catch you all later.